think online resources make for lazy journalism?
No, they make for fantastic, exciting journalism. Online resources mean you can come in and every day is a new day, not having to churn out the same old press release rewrites. You can make your day.
It's possible, I think. It depends what kind of organisation you're producing the journalism in. I would say online journalism ought to be the absolute opposite of lazy journalism, because you have the space and the tools to do journalism really well, to offer explanation, the depth across audio, video and text. So I think with the right kind of guidance and the right kind of principles, the website should be the place where you actually show all the virtues of journalism and not lazy journalism. In TV and radio, there's a very set amount of time to do things, so even the 10 o'clock news only has 28 minutes, whatever's happening in the world. It's on the website where you ought to be able to see the riches of what we can bring to a story.
No, because I think any resource that can help the journalists do their job can only make for better journalism. There's always been lazy journalism, and it's usually about not knowing stuff. Now we haven't got any excuse not to know something and not to find out. So I think online journalism, especially because it's a brutal, brutal economy out there now, makes for harder working journalists.
Absolutely not. I think they make you work harder, because you have to work harder to understand how they work. Like Twitter is a bit of a mystery. If you just go to somebody's Twitter page, it just doesn't make sense. So you have to invest a lot of time and energy in understanding what works and how things work. I think it's quite demanding. It would be much easier to say, no, I'm just going to stick to text and I'm just going to file a Word document at the end of the day.
What is the biggest threat to journalism in 2009, in your opinion?
The biggest threat to journalism in 2009 is that the people making it can't convince the public to value it. And that may mean buying their newspaper, subscribing to their TV channel, but much more deeply than that, it means waking up and realising you've got to convince the public that their journalism, your journalism, is something they should value.
The whole economic situation is the biggest threat at the moment. I think you only have to look right from local papers up to see that there are journalists being laid off. It's increasingly difficult for lots of newspapers to keep going, and I think the biggest danger is that, what's the gap between the old business models and, what can be done online to fill that gap. But at the minute, that's the biggest danger, I would say.
The financial markets, I think you could argue that a lot of the big news organisations have been too slow to adapt their business models, but things outside their control, like the financial markets, are going to force them to make huge cuts. And I think a lot of very talented journalists and editors are going to suffer because of that, and it's not really fair, despite the fact that their masters may have been a bit slow.
Okay, and finally, what online resource could you live without? What popular one?
I could probably do without too much unmoderated free-for-all comment. I think, and the BBC does some of this as well, it's very good for people to engage with our content and talk about it and discuss it, but I think if it's just a completely free-range message board, I think the value they deliver can be quite low.
Yeah, there's loads. I'm quite selective about what I use. I use Twitter a lot because I've come to use it more and more as it's become more useful. But I don't think you should feel any shame in not using something. If it, spend a bit of time on it, try and understand it. If it doesn't work, forget it. It's their job to make things work for you, not the other way around.